So Rera needs to think about the decision. He will inform him tomorrow after Cancer sees a traveler who will have to accompany him in the desert. He looks like a hard worker, to put it mildly, not very. For his long journeys he lost one of his arms. However, he says that he knows a couple of good routes and lands that could save them from hunger, but perhaps they have already been occupied by other units. Rera says that this is not a problem for them. If the units do not want to obey and unite with them, then they will simply overcome and seize their lands. However, he asks why the traveler can be trusted. Then the hard worker points to the sky, pointing at the stars. The fact is that the hard worker has developed a technique for finding any place using the stars. He decides to tell Rera himself about this technique. If it works, then he will deserve it trust. But if you want more content, then I have my own boost there. You will receive exclusive retellings of HN Man 18+ without any censorship, and you will also be able to receive all the videos much earlier than they appear on YouTube. Give thank you with all my booster. Thanks to you I can continue consistently release your videos well. The microphone was Alice, we'll hear it soon. Bye bye. Our story begins with showing a battle between people and an ogre, the battle itself. However, it takes place in a video game. The main character, who controls an army of people when the enemy advances, decides to use nuclear weapons, but our current project is called Civilization of the Sages. You can read it, as always, on the Remon. I will leave a link to the project in description and in the pinned comment. Go and read. However, the protagonist's rival predicted a similar outcome of events and, in response to nuclear missiles, sent interceptor missiles, but they did not have time for one missile that almost hit the orcs. The orcs began to pray in time, thereby calling on higher powers. In their ordinary world, prayers would not help anything, but in this world prayer always gives results. The hero realizes that the enemy used the strategy of the Holy Oak. The enemy of the hero is called Gamoni and used his secret strategy. He begins to gloat over the main character. They ask him if he is going to give up. Then the hero tells us about the abilities and bonuses of the ogre race. For example, they multiply quite quickly, and thereby increase the population of their people. However, even so, the hero is surprised at how Gamoni was able to so quickly assemble such a huge army. All this time Gamoni was secretly preparing to repel civilized technologies. The hero notes that there was also an attempt to summon the spirit of the apostle, a good idea. However, for the hero it was obvious, because there is a space much larger than the sky and it is located above it. Yes, that's right. The hero hid one of his missiles in space. Gamoni did not expect such a turn of events and, in a panic, orders the spirit of the apostle to stop the shells before they destroyed the castle. But the hero says that it is impossible to stop the shells that have gained such an acceleration in speed, so it's all over for Gamoni. The hero thanks Gamoni for the excellent fight. However, he cannot accept defeat and demands revenge. However, the hero is tired of battles. Initially he thought that hegemony would show him something new, but there have been no updates in the game for a long time, and he completed the task of maintaining first place in the ranking. The system informs the hero that he is the only player who was able to get all the achievements and thanks him for staying with the last world. At first the hero thought that this was the end of the game. However, his guesses turned out to be wrong. The fact is that the game The Last World is in beta testing and will be released. Very soon the hero will receive closed access to the beta version for all his achievements in the game. The hero did not expect. And Sun was allowed to choose the race first. The choice of race in the game is given according to the level of the ranking system. Taking the card into his hand, the dream is very surprised by what he saw, and in the next moment he sees a race of humanoid frogs. The race of which Sun got the insect has the lowest percentage victories. However, even so, the dream understands that it's not a matter of the race, but how the player can play for it. The dream explains that insects are comparable to birds and they are quite useful at the very beginning of the battle. However, the hero's squad was thrown quite far from the center, so you can relax a little because of frequent battles. Such a place is definitely not planned due to the strategy of enrichment in the initial stage of the game. Early aggression will not be easy to use in this case. He himself understands that the most rational decision would be to choose the race that quickly kills insects, for example, humanoid frogs. Dream, however, he is in thought because there are more than 1,000 different races and it is very difficult to choose one to start the game in the Lost World. The player's influence on the Creatures is directly related to their level, and the 10 faith that the dream has is not enough to force the frogs to do anything. Then the dream decides to look at what other races are nearby and sees humanoid lizards. He explains that they also eat insects and that they also strayed from their group and are in a desperate situation. Then among the group of lizards he notices one particularly injured. It seems that previously he was at the heart of the group, but was defeated in the battle for the title of leader and is now in despair. The dream says that the more he feels that the whole world has turned away from him, the more he suffers, the faster he can come to God after receiving a small miracle. However, this creature is very fragile. But even so, the dream decided to start its journey with him. Hungry and tired, standing, the lizards met in the desert of the wounded gas, and they instantly pounced on it, tearing it into pieces from hunger, quickly devoured all the meat without leaving a single piece for the old people and the wounded. The lizards wanted to finish eating the bones, but suddenly Joel intervened, saying that it was necessary to leave at least a little food for the wounded and old people. However, other lizards dissatisfied with the fact that Joel also shared food with Rara come because his wound is already rotting, which means that he will soon die. But if it weren't for Rara, who covered his friends and put himself under attack, then many of these ungrateful degenerates would have already been dead at night. When the whole tribe Rara is sleeping, wakes up because of a butterfly that flew to him, notices this and a couple of his former friends, thinking that Rara has finally decided to leave the tribe. Rara felt some special aura from the butterfly, and perhaps it's just a crazy fantasy in his head, but he still decided to follow. The butterfly leads Rara Ka to a huge mountain with food that is enough for the whole group. A system window pops up notifying that the humanoid lizards have seen a miracle. However, instead of considering the butterfly to be God, for some reason they decided that the beetle is God, which made them a little sleepy. After all, now he has the first ugly name in the game. Dream says that from now on Rara will become an important character for him, just like him for Rara. The next day Rara sees the butterfly again and thinks that this is a new vision. Having heard this, his clansmen begin to rejoice, thinking that they will stumble upon it again. On Zhukov, however, Rara says that butterflies and beetles appear on the north side, and if they follow her, they will freeze dead. However, the vision cannot be ignored either, because in the desert there is absolutely no food. Rara does not understand what his vision is for, but he has no choice but to follow him. The dream understands that the guys don't have much time left to survive. However, for now he can only keep an eye on them. However, if Rara believes in him, then a future awaits him that he could not even dream of. Rara calls on his relatives to listen to him, saying that the nameless, the god of beetles, brought them to the shelter. Faith Rara allowed the dream to gain the skill of blessing an insect and also increased the levels of both the race and personally. The dream decides to convey his blessing to Rara and make him his priest so that he can convey the will of the dream to his people. At the moment of blessing, Rara dreams of cancer. A dream in which the dream gives him his helmet, saying that he carried his will to his people. The first thing God asked Zhukov Rara to do was to sacrifice a buffalo. However, to catch him, the guys will have to go far enough from the shelter, and this is dangerous. Joan says that he will not subject the tribe to such dangers of hunting a buffalo. This is a huge risk to life. In order to defeat him, the whole tribe will have to fight him. Rara understands that Joan is right, because if they die, then there will be no one to look after the wounded and old people. Then Rara decides to go hunting. One says to Joan, Rara, that it is impossible to defeat a buffalo in alone. However, Rara tells her that he received a divine blessing and will not die on this hunt. I don't understand what kind of blessing we are talking about. Rara says that after he woke up, all the corvids healed on their own. In addition, his left shoulder was covered with some kind of black scales, but even so John say that Rara will not be able to cope alone. Then he demonstrates to the whole tribe his new strength and puts everyone in shock. Everyone in the tribe is surprised by Silai Rara. After all, no one expected that he became so strong. Suddenly 100 buffaloes run past the tribe. Rara realizes that God is sending Zhukov. They receive not only water but also meat and begin a buffalo hunt in the evening. The tribe makes an offering to the god of beetles in the form of a buffalo, asking him to accept it no matter how pitiful it was. The dream says that although the offering turned out to be careless, however, their prayers were sincere and he received faith even more than he was counting on it. But he was upset that the tribe even had buffalo cubs. After all, they could start engaging in cattle breeding. Although for their level it was not worth expecting anything else, the dream understands that in this oasis the tribe will not survive for long, and in order to survive this difficult period they need to have certain skills which, of course, cannot be learned right away. However, the dream cannot directly explain certain things since it would break the rules, so it decides to apply one blessing. The next day, a dialogue occurs between Rara and Joan, during which Rara talks about her dream where the catfish tried through a dream, show Rara that the oasis is awaiting collapse. Joan says that at the moment it's still good, but Rara explains that where gods will there are always difficulties and you need to cope with them yourself and not always rely on the deity. Suddenly Cancer sees another tribe that is heading towards him and says that now it's clear why the altar was shaking. Because this tribe expelled them from their previous home. Seeing the blue scales, the guys realized that their lands had been devastated. That's why the whole squad was in search of water. However, the oasis is the refuge of our guys and it's simply impossible to see it. For this you need to climb up the mountain, therefore, it is possible that a squad of blue scales will simply pass by, but the patrolman turns out to be not very smart and begins to shout at the squad and the blue scales that this is the place of the god of Bug and they are not allowed here. However, Rara is not upset by what is happening and says that perhaps this is God's plan or in general, a mission to save, albeit former, but still fellow tribesmen. But even so, one does not believe that it is worth saving the blue scales. After all, if he had at least a little spirituality in him, he would not have ordered to expel all the weak from the tribe. Rara sees butterflies in the sky and understands that he was not mistaken and this is the will of God. He says that he will do everything in his power. The dream says that Rara really understood everything as he intended. He wants the tribes to unite for the sake of increasing believers and also technological progress. They show us that Cancer already has level 14 willpower. The dream is surprised because Rara decided that the appearance of blue scales was his doing. He also says that a leader with high willpower. This is good because in the future he will not have to do any actions himself, but it will be enough to simply direct them in the right direction. Between Rara and blue scales there is a dialogue during which we understand how blue the _____ crayfish is. He tries with all his might to explain that if they accept God, he will take care of them. However, Blue does not reconcile with him in any way and the battle begins between Rar and Blue Scales breaks the spear of Cancer and he almost dies. Seeing this dream, uses his skill and sends a new blessing to Rarka using the system window. We understand that Rara could cope with the blue one without a buff, but running over an animal would be a problem for him. However, with a buff for him there is nothing to be afraid of, because the skill of God's avatar gives the user an additional characteristic called Divinity. 1 unit of Divinity D is equal to the maximum possible strength of the subject being multiplied by 200 times. To put it simply, the total strength of the Rar at the time of the buff is equal to 630. This is an absolutely overwhelming force that makes everyone around him numb. Blue, the whole tribe obeyed. Rara himself did not understand where he got such power. He seemed to be in a dream, thinking that this was the power of God. We are shown a smiling dream later that evening. Guys from another tribe ask why their skin turned black, to which one of the lizards replies that it is thanks to the god of beetles and his blessing, that it is thanks to him that they survived and became stronger. Rara understands that their tribe has increased 6 times and these lands will begin to deplete very quickly and leave. However, Rara understands that the god gave them these lands for a reason and sent new people here. Therefore you need to find the answer, which is somewhere nearby. The next day the Mon rebels, since his owner is no longer alive, the guys fail to calm him down. However, Rara comes and calms the mount with the help of food. They tell him that if he wants to be an ally with him, then he needs to learn patience and behave more quietly. Then Rara began to discuss with the lizard the creation of weapons. He says that the creation of weapons requires a large number of trees. So Rara needs to think about the decision. He will inform him tomorrow after Cancer sees a traveler who will have to accompany him in the desert. He looks like a hard worker, to put it mildly, not very. For his long journeys he lost one of his arms. However, he says that he knows a couple of good routes and lands that could save them from hunger, but perhaps they have already been occupied by other units. Rera says that this is not a problem for them. If the units do not want to obey and unite with them, then they will simply overcome and seize their lands. However, he asks why the traveler can be trusted, then the hard worker points to the sky, pointing at the stars. The fact is that the hard worker has developed a technique for finding any place using the stars. He decides to tell Rera himself about this technique. If it works, then he will deserve it trust. But if you want more content, then I have my own boost there. You will receive exclusive retellings of HN Man 18+ without any censorship, and you will also be able to receive all the videos much earlier than they appear on YouTube. Give thank you with all my booster. Thanks to you I can continue consistently release your videos well. The microphone was Alice, we'll hear it soon. Bye bye.